Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, indeed. Guerrilla Sports Off Field. You don't know what you're looking at. You might think you're looking at just something from KOA. As Liv, we knew she was going to be out because she's got a bunch of bridal shower duties. And so hope that her best friend's wedding weekend goes great. Although she said she was going to try to sneak away from the wedding in Broomfield and go to the end of the Buffs game tomorrow. So good luck with that. Liv, I'm sure as a bridesmaid, you won't stick out at all there in Boulder. And then Nate Jackson dealing with some technical challenges. So we may have Nate, we may not. But you got me, Brandon Krisztal, and you got Benjamin Allbright from Broncos Country tonight on KOA. And you catch him every Sunday on a number of pregame shows. Starting this Sunday at 8 o'clock, he'll be rocking and rolling on Broncos warm-up and then into the opening line and talking fantasy football with Fantasy Football Hour with Ryan Edwards, and then on the Broncos pregame as well as stations Broncos and NFL Insider. So, Ben, welcome to Off Field. I'd hope to welcome you in the studio, but we're not in studio today. Got, again, technical challenges there. So here we are.
Make the best of what we got, and I've got no bridal shower duties at all, so I happen to be available.
Yet. We'll see how the weekend goes. We'll see how the weekend goes. Before we jump into – there's two things I want to get to before we get to Broncos, and we'll take a quick peek at the college slate, as well, and some NFL games I think that jump out at us. Two things. One, you broadcast last night, you and Nick Ferguson for Broncos Country tonight were at the Great American Beer Festival, and I have lived here 18 full falls now, full football season. I moved here in December of 2006. So I think I've gone to the beer festival all 18 years that I've lived here, and it's been on in the fall, including last night. And I'm just doing this as a PSA. If you have a chance to go, if you can find tickets that are available, they might be, if you like beer and you like having a good time, I can't think of a better way to spend a few hours than walking around with your friends and beer. I know you've been a few times now and broadcast the last handful of years. What's been your takeaway getting to do it there every year?
Oh, man. I mean, first of all, if you like beer, they have every kind of beer imaginable. You cannot conceive of a beer they don't have there. So that's fun in and of itself. I think the biggest thing for me, because a beer festival would not have probably been something that I would have just randomly gone to on my own or had the wherewithal to get myself to go to. But now that I've been, it's awesome. Ton of fun. They got the food pairings and all that kind of stuff. But I think the coolest thing for me has been broadcasting and meeting some of the brewers and some of the stories behind some of these things. One guy dropped out of college and started brewing out of his garage because it was a passion project for him. Last year we had the Kona brewing people from Hawaii, and they had the Hawaii wildfires, and they were trying to brew to raise money to get the islands built back up. We had the Schilling cider guy last night, and that guy's a character, man. He's got like a full on mullet that he grew out on a bet 4 years ago. And he's a character, and they make, and how they come up with these drinks, how they come up with these flavors, the passion they have behind what they do. It's really cool to, I think, meet the people behind the beer, and so for me, that's the coolest part.
And then the other thing I wanted to get to, so go to GABF I think just Google it, or that might be their website, and try to get tickets. If you don't go this year, try to go next year. Mm-hmm. With Russell Wilson leaving town, and I don't know how many people knew this, the NFL, every team has a Twitter page, right? Russell Wilson was second ahead of every single NFL team in terms of most Twitter followers of anyone associated with the NFL, not counting Taylor Swift with Instagram and Twitter. And I don't know where Travis Kelce is now. I guess we should do a quick search. But over the last couple of years, Adam Schefter has now he's up to 12 million, but he was at 10 million. So of anyone associated with the NFL that works with the NFL. So Sierra doesn't count with her 32 million Instagram followers. But Russ was second behind only Adam Schefter, ahead of every team and every player on Twitter and on Instagram. I don't know if that number's changed with Travis. But that also meant that he was number one here in town, obviously. He has now left, and with the Broncos being number one as a team, I haven't done the research, but off the top of my head, you might have more Twitter followers than anybody here in Broncos country, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly, obviously, anyone that covers the team. But even, are there any, I don't know if there's any players that have more than you right now.
I don't think so. I think the only person even associated with cover it. Like Schlereth, I think, has more than I do. But beyond that, I don't think there's anybody else, player or coach. Sean Payton might have more. I have to go back and look at his. But most of them, I mean, it's bizarre. Like that's one of the weirdest things.
Yeah, Sean has 421. So I'm sorry to shortchange their coach. I don't think he's
no. There you go. Like I would
now.
make sure we were. Yeah, make sure we're clear on that. No, I mean, it's the weirdest thing. I would, if you would have asked me, 15 years ago, if my freaking Twitter account would be the most followed thing in Denver or one of the most followed things in Denver, I would have laughed at you, because I started it on a lark. But that's what got me my jobs and all that kind of stuff. And I guess it's a love-hate relationship. I know when I exit this business, I promise you I'm closing all that down and dropping off the grid. So
yeah, it's funny. You're going the opposite way. I think a lot of us are, of say like Charles Barkley, who wasn't on it forever, but because he owns the vodka and gin business, it's mostly just vodka now. He has an Instagram page. Peyton Manning wasn't on any of it. And then he obviously has taken to Instagram, and he and his Omaha Productions folks crush his post. Speaking of, let's jump in there. Bo Nix. We saw Bo Nix in his Instagram post. And you know what? I'm going to shoot a note to Jay, who's running the show behind the scenes. But what do you think of Bo Nix, who even copped to when I said, hey, did you make that video? Because Sean said, I think he needed some help with the Ferris Bueller video that he made. He's like, I don't think he did that on his own. Because I always appreciate, like, we're talking about guys, Tom Brady, when he first got into, it was Facebook, but then he got on Twitter and Instagram. You're like, I just pictured him with his phone banging out these videos and making all these cool edits. And I'm like, there's no way Tom Brady's doing it. Not that he couldn't. I'm sure he'd be good at it. But when I asked Bo, he's like, oh, no, that wasn't me. But I'm glad that his team was able to put it together. But when you saw that, I imagine did it bring the same smile to your face? And what's to say about Bo, like, leaning into the whole Ferris Bueller thing?
Yeah, I think it's good, because I think that's the one thing that I felt like Bo has lacked so far. I mean, he's a rookie and he's growing in his game on the field. That we could debate that for forever, but I think off the field, I don't know. I mean, when you were at the combine, you saw his interview. He was kind of serious, and he comes across just kind of, a little too serious at times, about football, I think. And I think that if he's really going to endear himself to the Denver fan base, he needs to have those kind of lighter moments. I think Peyton Manning became Peyton Manning when he did embrace sort of the goofiness, the social media, the laser rocket arm commercial with the fake mustache, the things like that. I think when you're a professional athlete and you're able to showcase that humorous side, I think it increases and enhances your appeal. And I think for Bo, I think that was a good moment. I really did, because I watching that video, I was like, there's nothing, you're looking at this video, there's nothing negative you take away from it. It's just a positive, funny moment that leans into a moment on the field caught on camera. And I think that, I have nothing but respect. I instantly knew, as soon as I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, there's no way Bo did this. Yeah, there's a production team here somewhere, whether it's Broncos PR or whatever. But the only thing I would have changed about that is I wouldn't have used the TV call. I would have, used our own Dave Logan, but that's just me.
He'll learn that over time. That's the preferred way. We like it around here, with apologies to Kevin Kugler and the job he does at both Fox and Westwood One. But it was you talk about how serious he is. And I even think about when they drafted him, and look, you talk about a whirlwind for any player that goes, but especially a first rounder that's either in New York or I guess wherever the draft is now, or wherever their college town is, or likely at home. But then a private jet is going to take them from wherever they are. Every now and then the player, obviously one player will get drafted in the city they're in. And if they happen to be there, they can just drive over to the facility the next day. But you have whatever celebration you have, and then you're on a private jet in the morning, and this is going to be your new home. And so there's a lot going on. But when Bo was here, he wasn't overly serious, but your point about the serious tone, there was a business like approach to his personality. And I think we saw that all the way through the last couple of weeks is when it's finally started. And maybe winning does kind of cure all, but you've seen his personality start to peek through, and you hear his teammates talk about how funny he is. And I don't know if we've necessarily seen that, but we have seen at least a sharp enough wit to, hey, what happened on that interception? I threw it to the other team, right? So it's like he's got that. And if he doesn't want to go a certain road, he'll be quick with it. And it has an element of humor. I think that's probably where he and Sean Payton get along, is that they both, can throw it right back at you with an edge to it. And that's something that I just think we didn't necessarily know unless you followed him at Auburn, followed him at Oregon, and watched all his press conferences or saw his interviews.
Yeah. And I think that's a part of the getting to know you thing. And I think, one of the things I think we like, if we step outside of the media for a minute and just look at it from a fanship, is we want our sports people to be having fun doing what they do too. I think that endears them. We want them to feel like that in a lot of cases they are transplants, and we want them to feel like that they are involved in the community and they get us and we get them and that kind of thing. We want to be invested from that perspective. I think that's a large part of why Denver embraces Nikola Jokic so much. Obviously a transplant, a foreigner, but he does like to joke around and have fun, and there is a little bit of that element to it. And so I think that if you're able to do that, you're able to showcase that in a certain manner. I think it endears the fan base.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully just get to know him more and more, because you think about any city that has a franchise quarterback for a long period of time, you really do get to know about them, and you know their wives' names and their kids' names and their family members and friends that are around. That's certainly the case with John Elway. People, knowing his wife and all his kids and seeing his kids playing high school sports and John being in the crowd or whatever. So over time, we found out where Bo lives, or we know that he's in Castle Pines, thanks to whoever did that research. And so we'll see as his family grows. He obviously has been married for a little bit, and he and his wife are here. And so, yeah, you take ownership of them, just like I think Nikola Jokic is a great example, because we don't see a lot from him, but we do see him with his daughter and his brothers and his sister. Like Nathan McKinnon, I don't know if he's married, has kids. I don't know. You don't see that. You didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Nolan wasn't married when he was here. Nolan Arenado was your last really big star, but you did see it with Charlie some, who he and his wife, their kids are little, and Charlie's obviously retiring. But yeah, you take ownership in your guys. So real quick, before we get into the X's and O's of what it'll take for them to beat the Chargers, here is that video that we were just referencing that Bo put on his Instagram, and this is actually from our pal Zach Stevens' Twitter.
He's still got a little Ferris Bueller in him. Did you watch the movie? Have you ever seen it?
Yep. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Troy Franklin with a catch is good. Now 3rd and goal. Swings it out of the backfield. Up the sideline. Touchdown, Denver. Throws intercepted by Surtain for a Denver touchdown. Jump ball, and it's Riley Moss with the interception for the Broncos. A lot of pressure. Here comes sack number 3. Nick's trying to leap over the top, and he does by sticking the ball over the plane of the goal line. Nick's to throw, looking for the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Josh Reynolds.
You're still here? It's over.
Pretty good work by Bo and his social team, whoever helped him with that. And look, I don't think he has a team to the level of, say, our pal Russell Wilson, who we were talking about a minute ago, but clearly has somebody helping him, and they're doing a good job. So you can't help but smile when you see that clip.
Oh yeah, and it's fun. It leans into it. It hits all the right notes, and even to the order of the highlight clips laid out. Help propping up the defense first before he gets to his own highlights. That was well done, top to bottom.
And that with, I guess, over time, with more wins, you're going to get to see just a little more personality, right? So I think that it's just fun kind of getting to know someone who's new here in Broncos country that you expect is going to be around for a while, hopefully, right? That's certainly what we hope. We know that a 4th straight win is in the offing. I guess before we look at this matchup specifically, and I've got some of the numbers I wanted to get into. If I would have told you the Broncos would be 3-2 after 5 games, would you have believed me heading into the season in the spring? And then what we saw with how Bo played, we realized it was against, obviously, mostly backups and the Packers in practice. But did you think we'd be sitting here with them 3-2 going into this game?
I could have bought that. I think if you had told me that, I would have believed that they won the Steelers game and dropped the Jets game. But I think I could have possibly believed that. I probably would have said 2-3 instead of 3-2. But I think it was within the realm of possibility. Now you go back and you look at how they coulda, woulda, shoulda won that Steelers game. Coulda, woulda, shoulda been 4-1, and then you're getting an eyebrow raise out of me. I'm not sure that I would have bought that if you told me that from the get-go. And now you're staring down the barrel of a banged-up Chargers team, a banged-up New Orleans team missing a quarterback on Thursday night, one of the worst teams in football, in the Carolina Panthers over your next 3, and the possibility of being 4-2, 5-2, 6-2 by the time those 3 are over. Yeah, that one I might have scoffed a little.
But here we are, and you talk about them being banged up, and let's start there with this Chargers team coming to town. And so I've got the injury report. And we know that they let Zack Allen get a day off, but a bunch of guys that were dealing with nagging stuff, JFM, Estime, his window has opened. Be interesting to see how they end up with Bidet going on IR. Do they wait another week on Estime and just see? Because I don't know if you need him. I'm not saying you wouldn't happily have him, but they would need to make a corresponding move. Or is there a spot that's open right now? I guess I can't remember. I don't know if you're rushing him back this week. Because you get, for people that don't know, you get 3 weeks for when an injured player starts to get back towards playing. You get 3 weeks to let them practice before you have to activate them. And if you don't, you have to shut them down. So you don't have to open that window until you're ready. It's not exactly 4 weeks after they go out, but if it's 6 weeks and then you start, they could practice for a week and play. They could practice for 3 weeks.
I think Lavelle Bailey took the last open spot. If I'm not
that sounds right.
So
the other day,
you'd have to make a corresponding move. For me, like maybe you bring Estime up this week just to get him a few touches. But if it's me, I think you're keeping him a bubble wrap till the New Orleans game. It's a short week. You want a fresh body, that kind of thing. That's kind of how I would do it. If he's ready to go now, I probably wouldn't use him much this weekend, and then we turn around and use him for the Thursday night game.
And that this is going to be kind of a grinded out type game. Not that you, again, couldn't use him, but odds are Javonte, no matter how well he plays, and Jaleel, they've got that short turnaround. Yes, these are young guys and, the early parts of their career. So their recovery is different than, say, even a Derrick Henry at 30 years old or whatever it may be, or Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy. Guys, that are creeping up there towards 30 and get a lot of work. So assuming Javonte is going to get a lot of work against a really good defense, having Estime with that, freshness, if you will, other than coming off the ankle, is going to be, I think, a good thing. So Alex Palczewski, we'll see if he ends up on IR, and Luke Wattenberg. So they've got some question marks up front. But then when you go to the Chargers, and, we can get into all of them, but I'll hold this up to the camera. That's how many players are on their injury report, right? And you see those names, and it is kind of a who's who. When you look at, now, a lot of them were full, but you still have Herbert dealing with what he's got going on, and Slater, the left tackle. If he can't go, we've seen where their defense, or where defenses have had success, and Slater's been banged up the last couple of years. He's a really good left tackle that they got out of Northwestern. Fun fact, his godfather is our head of sales here at iHeart. But they're maybe not the mass unit they were in the Phillip Rivers era, or Melvin Gordon, who had a different O-line every week, but they're clearly not as healthy as the Broncos, even if, they've got more participants of late in practice. So that's got to be a good thing for the Broncos.
Well, yeah. I mean, both tackles have been banged up. The quarterback's in a boot. I mean, he's obviously going to play. The offense, if you've watched any of the Chargers tape this year, just hasn't quite clicked yet. They're running the ball really well. J.K. Dobbins is getting an absurd 6.1 a carry, something like that is absolutely absurd number. But in terms of the passing skeleton, it just hasn't quite come together yet. I don't know if that's a byproduct of Greg Roman trying to adjust from having to draw up and design and call plays for Lamar Jackson, and now with Justin Herbert, a bit of a shift there. But it just had the offense just hasn't quite come together. Some of that's injury, some of that's new. But the run game is there. And I think if the Broncos are going to win this game, and I think they can, the key is to get out to a lead early, make the Chargers play from behind. If they play from ahead, they're going to sit on that run game, and that's going to be a problem. But don't get blown off the ball early. And then if you can get a lead and get them playing where they have to pass to catch up, that puts them in the worst situation possible. And, it'll allow you to be the best team that you could be, because I think the Broncos are at their best when they're dialing up blitzes, and they've got that trio, the Three Musketeers back there at, back there at corner, playing so well. And even the safety play, we wondered, I guess, if there was going to be a drop off with Kareem and Justin gone, but PJ and especially Brandon Jones played really well.
Yeah, Brandon Jones, I think, I don't say he's been a revelation. We just didn't know what to expect with a guy that we didn't see all of camp. And you're like, okay, why was he available? I get that he's playing next to Pro Bowl, All-Pro kind of safety, and there was kind of a rotation going on there in Miami too. Why am I drawing a blank? Javon, the safety in Miami.
Oh, you're talking about not Jalen Phillips.
No. It's sorry. Javon.
Yeah.
Not Holland.
What's his name?
What it is?
I keep drawing a blank. But yeah, the guy they drafted when we swap with the Javonte pick.
Yeah, right. And so they've got obviously he was available and we didn't know what to expect, but he and PJ Locke, who have played a number of games together in college, they've got that kind of innate communication that Justin and Kareem had after playing together for a few years. And so Brandon Jones, who's been one of the best safeties in football, he's got his hands on an interception as well as a fumble. He's caused a fumble. That's been good to see. And so they're going to have their work cut out for him in the run game. I asked Sean Payton, because you talked about this pass game. I asked Sean this on Wednesday. I didn't get a chance to ask VJ about it, but he did kind of talk about their offense. But I asked Sean, when you have a quarterback that has put up the numbers that Herbert has really from the time he got in the league, that's different than a passing game that's limited. We don't know if Bo Nix can get to where Justin Herbert has been. It'll be nice to see if he does. So it's okay if I'm the Chargers, show me that you can make these throws and beat us in the passing game. We're going to sell out to stop the run. The Broncos need to sell out to stop the run because of how well, as you mentioned, they're running the ball, especially with Edwards or Dobbins rather at 6 yards a clip. But then when you add to it a quarterback that can put up 300-400 yard days easily, and I get that help having Keenan Allen and Mike Williams is a big part of that. That would make me nervous. And so Sean kind of downplayed. I didn't get to ask VJ about it yesterday just because tight on time with his press conference. But that would, that'd make me nervous. And at some point, that is going to be an element, whether it's the play action or just opening up their passing game. They've got really young receivers in McConkey and Johnston, who obviously are high draft picks. But I would just be nervous, like, oh, we put 8 in the box. Justin Herbert's going to destroy us.
Well, I mean, that is something you have to be cognizant of, with the defensive shift that we've had with what VJ is doing, which is going back, leaning a little bit more into the Wade Phillips philosophy of how you play defense rather than the Vic Fangio philosophy, which has dominated Denver. Well, since Vic got here, it continued with Avero, and then it continued a little bit with VJ last year. They're diametrically opposite philosophies. VJ wants to send everything at the quarterback, keep your guys on an island, and play center field with a safety, whereas Vic wanted to kind of run that tight front and do kind of quarters match and drop everybody back, and then hope that the limited number of people you're sending got there. And so that's the thing. The thing about Vic's philosophy, which has taken over the NFL, it's very effective and it does bog teams down. They do settle for field goals. Scoring is down league wide because of it. But if you're a defense that's playing coin flip football, meaning that you need late game stops and that kind of thing, that bend don't break defense, it's tough to get a turnover and teams can run the clock out on you late. We saw that under Vic a number of times where we needed a stop. We just couldn't quite get one because of, how that defense is key. With Vance's philosophy, it's attacking, it's fun, it's aggressive, but it is susceptible to a busted play now and again. We saw 2 of those against the Raiders. Amir Abdullah got free, and once he got free, he was, he's kind of off to the races. And we saw Brock Bowers, on a play sort of get free, and they're a busted. It will give up some busted plays here or there, and so it's important not to overreact to those because we saw the Broncos bounce back from that that 10-0 deficit. But at the same time, it is also important to be cognizant of the fact that teams can get free. If one thing goes wrong, teams can get free, and we have seen opposing receivers running free in the secondary. That just the pressure has gotten there. We've been good in the early season, good enough to get the pressure to get home, and that hasn't been an issue.
And you talk about pressure, they're second in sacks in the league right now, and their pressure rate is extremely high. And it starts with Zack Allen, who doesn't have huge sack numbers yet, but he is 3rd in pressures, and he's the only interior D lineman on that list. The rest are all edge rushers that you would expect to have high pressure numbers. We saw Zack Allen from the jump when he got here last year and say, okay, that guy never lets up in practice. And in a game, he made it, I think, the entire season at that level. He is built differently, clearly. Did you expect that he would take this step, though, to where if he's not a Pro Bowler this year, that means there's something wrong with the voting? He's playing at an all-pro kind of level right now, and we'll see if he sustains that. But I don't think I expect just to kind of see more of the same, and this feels like the Jets game was where it was the most apparent. Every time Aaron Rodgers was out, and maybe a younger Aaron Rodgers gets around that edge, but every time he would break contain, there was Zack Allen in his face.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always liked Zack Allen as a player, dating back to when he was in Arizona, and it's no wonder Vance wanted to bring him up here and let Draymond go. I mean, because that's where the money went, So I want to give Vance Joseph his flowers on kind of making that decision. I don't know that I thought that he would be playing as well as he's playing this year. I've always thought of him as a very good, very underrated player, but I didn't think that he was. I mean, the way he's playing right now, and you hate to do this because you invoke a name and then everybody freaks out. But the way he's playing right now, it reminds you in a lot of ways of J.J. Watt. I mean, maybe he's not getting the sack numbers that Watt was getting, but he is as disruptive as Watt was right now, and he's helping his guys, like the guys around him, make those plays. As we see, the Broncos second in the league in sacks. So, I don't want to sit there and say Zack Allen is J.J. Watt, but at the same time, there is sort of that reminder there as you see how he can be disruptive, and it's not just him, it's everyone around him that benefits.
And you think about, this isn't apples to apples either, but Von Miller was at a crossroads in his career when DeMarcus Ware showed up, and that allowed Von to lock in on where his talent could take him and jump to a first ballot Hall of Fame level, Super Bowl MVP kind of level, best pass rusher of his generation in a lot of ways on the edge, with guys like Watt and Donald technically, being more inside than Vaughn was. Zach was around JJ Watt, the last 3 years of JJ's career, right? Or if my math is right on that. And so he got to see JJ at the end when he wasn't as dominant, but that still means he got to see how JJ went about everything. And obviously they played together, and I don't know what it took for it to all click for Zack Allen to this level. But when you have the person that you remind people of, or that has similar traits, and you see how they go about their business every single day, it can only have a positive effect. Just like Demaryius Thomas's effect on Courtland Sutton, I think, will be, Courtland will tell you that, and he did a couple weeks ago when DT's name came up, when we were talking, I think, Ring of Fame, Hall of Fame. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but just about what DT meant to him and the growth of his game. And so it's cool to see with Zack Allen. Let's see if you can explain this to me, because you spend a lot more money gambling on real things versus 8 to 10 leg same game parlays like I like to do, which, by the way, didn't hit. Jordan Mason and Kenneth Walker did not score last night, so I did not win $1,700 on a $5 bet. Why?
Yeah, I did do one of those last night that I missed on the Nick Bosa sack. Bosa got 14 pressures and couldn't pull a sack, so I wound up not cashing that one either.
Well, and we don't want to see his brother get any sacks this week, and we know that Joey is certainly capable of that as well. So hopefully it's a sackless weekend for the Bosa brothers. But this game opened as the Chargers coming off a bye as a 1.5 point favorite here in Denver. It has now jumped to, at some places, 3.5, but mostly 3. What is Vegas seeing that we are not? And is the sharp money following that, or is that public money has betted up? Because let's wait and see about the Broncos, and people aren't buying, and that's fine. I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings. It's not going to hurt their feelings. In fact, I'm sure they like knowing that. It's funny when coaches downplay, I don't pay attention. If they know their team's an underdog, they will let their team know in meetings throughout the week, and certainly on Saturday night, that, even with 3 straight wins, they don't believe in you. We're 3-point underdog at home.
Yeah, I think, okay, well, let's start with the beginning of this. First of all, the reason they're a favorite is because nationally people are underrating the Chargers defense. They have a very good defense. Even with the injuries and the attrition that they've had, they have a very, very good defense. And I think that's something Broncos fans need to remind themselves of, because we just played a Raiders team that's not very good on defense. And so, that's the thing. The Chargers, what they do right now, they play a physical, grinded out football game. And I don't know that the Broncos have really faced that this year. You would think the Steelers would be that, but it really wasn't that. That was just a game of an offensive ineptitude and good defenses. It wasn't a grinded out game. The Chargers can run the ball well. They do pin pull stuff. Dobbins is averaging over 6 a carry. Again, that's absurd. And they've got a couple other backs who can play. I mean, Gus Edwards will get short yardage stuff. Hassan Haskins will get a sprinkling here and there. They've got backs that can play. And so, I think having the bye week and being sort of fresh, being able to run the football and being able to play great defense, I think that's the reason that the line is where it is and people are betting it. People aren't sold on the Broncos offense yet. The 2 good games that the Broncos offense have been against poor defenses or defenses that had a lot of attrition. You look at the Bucs game, they couldn't get any pressure up the B gaps. You look at the Raiders game, all of a sudden the offense took off when Christian Wilkins went out. They couldn't get pressure in the big gaps and inside. And so, I think that's part of it. If the Broncos can keep the pocket clean and keep the pressure from getting through the B's or the A's, then I think the Broncos stand a really good chance of winning. But I think that the reason the line is where it is and the lack of respect is a combination of They don't respect the Broncos offense just yet. The Chargers defense is a lot better than I think we're giving it credit for, and they run the ball very effectively, even if they're not passing well right now.
Got some questions that came in on the chat. I'll throw two of them at you. This from Max. Hey, Ben, I met you at the Broncos bar when the Broncos played in London. It made my day. Where can we catch you on YouTube covering the Broncos? I think your YouTube stuff kind of comes sporadically, or if we're lucky enough to get you to hop on here with us on Gorilla. Are you doing
Yeah,
something?
I think no, we used to do the YouTube stuff with the Broncos directly, and then
Right.
when Rush Janish left and Haley came, and they sort of had some turnover there and all that kind of stuff. So we're not doing that right now. There is a plan for something with the Broncos Country Tonight show, but that's still a little ways out. That's probably a next year deal. So right now, unless it's like doing stuff with you here on Gorilla, it's not much on YouTube.
But we'll see, Max. Appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully we'll have more to throw your way. And then this from an account called That's Good Sports. Hey, Ben, That's Good Sports. Our pal Brandon Perna would like to know, why do you have the glamour filter on?
I didn't realize I have the glamour filter on. I have no idea. I don't know how to turn any of these filters on or off. So if I have one on, I accidentally turned it on, and I have no idea how to turn it off.
And I'm not sure if you did. I think you might just see your beautiful blue eyes there popping out at him, and he wanted to jump in.
That's what it is. Yes.
And Brandon
Okay.
wanted to let you know that
now.
he's watching. So we appreciate Brandon checking us out. Final thing on the Broncos, we'll look at a couple NFL games and then quick peek at college. With that 3-point spread, I'm inclined. I always like home dogs. I'm certainly inclined to pick them in any of my pick 'em games, but I might bet it too. But how do you see the game playing out? Because to your point about the Chargers D, and I've kind of reminded people all week long on whether it's on off field on Wednesday with Liv and Nate, or the updates I do in the morning on K. Like, this is a good defense that we just didn't necessarily realize, because we know about Joey Bosa. We know Derwin James' health hasn't allowed him to turn into the Hall of Fame kind of player that I think he was on that track for. We know Denzel Perryman's a tackling machine, but they don't right. They don't have that 49ers Ravens kind of reputation, Steelers reputation. And so, knowing that this defense is better than the public may have realized, how do you see the game going?
I think it'll be slow at first. I think scoring picks up, in the middle 8 in this game, but I think it'll be slow going at first. I'd love to see the Broncos take a vertical shot early to back that defense off, because that's another defense that's converting from what we used to run to sort of what we run now. They went from Brandon Staley, who was a Vic Fangio disciple, to running what they run now, which is a lot more attacking, and they are a bit more aggressive. There will be guys free. I'd love to see an early Mims shot. Just put him on the bang 9 and have him go, early, kind of back them
Or
off.
Troy Franklin, if he'll catch it.
Yeah, well, that's, shades of
Big if
Eddie
these
Kennison there, right? Now, all due respect to Troy, but it looked like he was trying to catch the ball with 2 frying pans in his hand. I'm like, buddy, what are we doing wasting reps right now when we could be giving our most explosive player in Marvin Mims more time out there? So, yes, if Troy will hang on to it, then I'll quit grousing about it. But I think I'd love to see some vertical shots early, but I think this is mostly going to be a grinded out game early, and then you'll see things kind of pick up with a little tempo in the middle 8. And that's, the last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half, where the Broncos really do like to try to win that middle 8. I think, physical defensive type game where the Chargers are hoping to get after the young quarterback early. And then on the other side of that, I think that the Chargers will probably like to pass a little bit early to set up the run. I don't think they want to just come out and punch you in the mouth. I think they want to back you off a little bit, and then to get that, like I said, what they call pin pull. And I don't want to get too deep in the X's and O's right now. You can look at pin pull blocking on Google or whatever, but they like to do pin pull type stuff, and that that's something they could get into after they've set up a few passes to kind of back things off a little.
Okay, so do you want to give a prediction now? You're gonna save it till Sunday?
I think the Broncos win this one. I think 24-17. I know that's the generic score or whatever, but I think it's a realistic score for this thing. 23-17, 24-17, something in that ballpark.
Broncos win.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I think they're going to win too. And then it allows you to at least, they don't want to do this, and I get it, but it allows you in the back of your mind, knowing you're going to be going against some sort of backup quarterback, maybe Spencer Rattler for a second straight week, short turnaround. Nobody's happier about nobody really likes the Sunday to Thursday when you're in it. But Sean Payton, knowing that odds are New Orleans media is not even coming here to do anything, not that Amazon won't or whatever leading into the game, but that he can get to New Orleans as quickly as possible, have that return game there. It is worth noting he wasn't fired. He chose to walk away. He's as beloved there as anyone this side of Archie Manning and Drew Brees, if not, more so than perhaps Archie, I guess, because he was the coach that won the Super Bowl. And so it'll be a warm welcome. There will not be any boos or any of that, but it's still just the circus of, hey, your return home, and it comes, in year 2. So I think, but that short week, I was getting to, it allows the Broncos, if you can beat the Chargers and win your 4th straight, it's not unrealistic to think they'll go there, beat a rookie quarterback, and then come home to the Panthers, who are a dumpster fire right now, and they could be sitting at 6-2 with then some really tough road games in a row with at Baltimore, at KC. So it's you can't win 5 in a row if you don't win 4 in a row. But I'm kind of with you as far as a couple other games around the league. Real quick, Steelers at Raiders. They made the switch there in Vegas officially with Aiden O'Connell, at least for now. Antonio Pierce saying the stuff he's saying about Devontae Adams as a Raider, and he'll play when he's healthy. I think it's just how you drive the trade market up instead of trading him now because Devontae wants to be traded. But I think it's going to be a Steelers home game. How do you see that one shaking out? Because I'm not saying the Raiders won't win. I can't predict it by any means.
I'm with you on that. I can't see the Raiders. And it looks like my camera battery's giving me a message here. I can't see the Raiders winning that one. The Steelers defense is quite good. And I think making the switch offensively, I don't think it makes much of a difference. O'Connell's a little bit more willing to attack vertically, but it hasn't paid off in any appreciable way. I think at the end of the day, if you're looking for a way for the Raiders to win, you got to fluster Justin Fields, force them into passing situations. If you're able to do that, you could win. But I can't see it, especially not at home. Pittsburgh probably takes that.
I was going to get into a few more games, but I think the camera has paused. I can hear you great. It just makes for a silly video, and luckily your picture is caught perfectly. So I will.
Yeah, I'm looking at my face right now, and I'm like, wow, that really got me.
All right, so then let's just throw one more. Let's jump to another game that I think folks will have plenty of attention on around here, and that's the Buffs as 3.5-point underdogs at home, which is something that early in the year after the Nebraska game, you thought, oh, K-State's going to be a 2-touchdown favorite if they keep putting out performances like that. So it's going to be a night game. The crowd is going to be as rowdy as possible. First trip by K-State back to Boulder since 2010. They're ranked 18th. CU's unranked. Can CU keep this win streak going, get to 4 straight wins as well?
It's going to be tough. I mean, thankfully you're at home, but that's going to be tough. I mean, Kansas State's defense, it's interesting how we're talking about Colorado football teams playing against underrated defenses this week, but Kansas State defense is better than you think it is. And that's going to be interesting because I don't think that the Buffs have really had a defensive challenge thus far. I mean, maybe you talk about Nebraska and what Rule is doing over there, but they really haven't had a defensive challenge thus far in terms of the talent level that they're going to be facing. So for me, that's going to be tough. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be closer than people want on both sides of the fence there. I think CU can win. I'm certainly not going to bet that one. But I think that game can be won by CU. I'm not sure if I would predict it.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I would love nothing more than see K-State lose every game that they ever play, but that's because I went to the University of Kansas. So my Jayhawks disappointing this year, not living up to the expectations, even if K-State was supposed to be good, and they're doing that. So I'd love to see Coach Prime and his boys and Travis Hunter and company not only cover, but kick the crap out of them and not only win that game, and for all my CU friends around here, like our buddy Big Al and the rest. So with your camera dying and with us kind of reaching the end of the line, Ben, I just want to say thanks again for hopping on with us here on Guerrilla Sports Off Field. Hopefully we can do it again soon and in studio and live and/or Nader there, but I really appreciate it. And I know that so many folks in Broncos country already follow you on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Allbright NFL, and of course on Broncos Country Tonight every weeknight when there's not a Broncos or a Rockies or a Buffs game to knock you off, and then lots of pregame coverage on Sunday as well. So thanks so much for the time. Great time at the beer festival last night. Appreciate the ride home, and I will catch you here sooner than later. But our friends at Gorilla, we really appreciate having you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it, and looking forward to doing hopefully more of these, man.
Absolutely. And Jay, thank you for running it behind the board as our producer and director. And Liv and Nate and I will certainly have you ready with Gorilla Sports Off Field. And of course, catch Ben on KOA's pregame on game day on Sundays. And he'll also usually pop on with Ryan Edwards on the radio on postgame as well there on KOA. So thanks to everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. It's a football Friday. And to those of you, like many of my relatives, who are going to be celebrating Yom Kippur, if you will, or atoning for the last year. I hope that goes really well and you have an easy fast. But thanks for watching.